Hello everyone, back in the garden. It has just been a series of the most spectacular days. Reminds me of all the reasons I wanted to come and live in this beautiful place in Cape Town, South Africa. I know it's early for a lot of you that are in America, and certainly anyone on the West Coast. You must be up very, very late, but if you're up early on the East Coast, great to have you here. And it's midday. I think it's about maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. And yeah, really beautiful. So sitting in Mother Nature, I want to continue the conversation that we started yesterday about caring for the divine, the sacred feminine. And we covered a lot, but we could hardly cover it all. So there's so much more. What am I most wanting to share with you? What do I most want to implore you, encourage you, support you in doing? The answer would be to protect and strengthen yourselves. This is what we need now more than ever. We need to be strong. The men listening, just as much as the women listening, we need to be strong. Strong in a way that we were probably, unless you were very lucky, never taught. Strong in terms of integrity. Strong in terms of psychic cleanliness, in terms of emotional cleanliness. These things, these fields being clean, enables those fields to have integrity. And then when those fields have integrity independently, they have integrity together, and then you have an exponentially stronger being. So in order to face what's out there in the world and to be all you can be, truly, which is so much more than what we're told, in a very different way than what we're told. We're encouraged to have worldly success, matrix success, but that in every way that undermines and weakens what we are. So I want to make you strong, and I want to teach you how to protect yourselves from all these forces that would weaken you. So that's what I'm after. That's my MO. That's what I'm about. How can I protect you, help you protect yourself, strengthen yourself? In many ways, that's really what a mother does. So, as my kids are my eldest is 20, my son is turning 18 in a few weeks, and then my littlest one is 8. And it's interesting because women, the sacred feminine energy is the mother energy, and it's the grandmother energy. Ultimately it's that energy that, when it's brought to its maturity, can protect, direct, support, guide, and ensure that which is of such substantial intrinsic value is not harmed, is protected. And truly, what's wonderful about this is that the divine masculine, the sacred masculine, is ultimately the same, in the sense that the divine masculine is there to protect, defend, support. And the way the masculine energy and the feminine energy go about it is slightly different. And of course, the divine masculine incorporates divine feminine in order to be complete, and the divine feminine incorporates divine masculine in order to be complete. But ultimately, this idea that we need to protect that which is of value is the same. So coming to maturity is a coming to the embodiment of being able to identify that which needs to be protected, and then to be able to protect it. Which is why it's really good for a woman to have some self-defense skills, and why, of course, it's important for a man to know how to nurture and care from that more divine feminine place. But we have to be strong in body. Women, unfortunately, what I tend to see 3 different groups. You've got women who don't take care of their frame, their skeletal muscular system, and they let it go when it's very, very weak. Then you have women who go full out and and gym all the time, or they're bodybuilders, but they are sort of at the other end of the pendulum. Their bodies may have they might have huge muscles and everything, but they're not fluid. And remember, as I go, I always forget to say this. It's the most important thing. Women are about flow. We're the fluidity. We're the water. flow is so important for a woman, and that's why dance is so important. We need to be able to flow and move, and of course men do too. So nothing I say is exclusive, certainly, to women without men, but this idea that the feminine quality is flow and fluidity, which is so beautifully embodied by water. But what was I saying? Anyway, so we need to be able to defend, yes. And so then you have the third group, which is the people who, the women who will take the gym classes or go through phases of exercising or burn a lot of calories. And calories is a whole different story we need to get into. But all three categories are not, the integrity of the body isn't that strong. And that's what needs, so that's one aspect of what needs to happen. We need the physical body to be so strong. We need the emotional aspect to be strong. And we've talked about what that means as well. The mental, the energetic, the spiritual, all these forces need to be made strong. And they're only strengthened when they're exercised, in the same way that, you only get stronger when you exert effort that's more than what you typically exert. And that's not easy, because that basically means that we have to be striving. And, there's a kind of, the world's way is to kind of keep us in a false comfort zone where we can just be kind of lazy. And actually, laziness is not in our nature at all. It's been programmed into us to want that, to want things to come easily to us. But actually, the human nature is very adventurous on every level. And we are, while we're all a little bit different, of course, in every way, we're super unique, and we have all these unique combinations of qualities. It's a fallacy that we are left to our own devices. We would, rather do nothing. That's not true. But we are in, the matrix energy isn't that inspiring. So we tend to think there's only two choices, that there's success in the matrix, which means a lot of exertion and putting pressure on ourselves, or the opposite, which is let's just give up and you play with the remote control all day, or our phones, and eat and everything. Take the whole construct away. Take that matrix limitation, poorly defined idea of human nature away, and you have something entirely different, which is the inspiration that is life, that flows through everything. That when you are not suppressed, when there's nothing obstructing your access to life force, you don't even know who you're going to be and how inspired you're going to be, and how much you'll have to give, and how much creative spirit you'll have. It's absolutely unlimited. So we have to make sure that we extricate ourselves from that construct by our way of thinking, by our way of operating in all these different ways, and really become conscious of what was programmed into us, so that we can take ourselves out of it and then have the opportunity to see what there is. If we can't get out of it, then we're always going to be operating within it in some way, and we're always going to feel like we might get a little insight, but it never serves to fully expand us. See, so we have to, even though I know I keep on beating this matrix thing, but it's the key. It's like saying, go out and play, but, Mom, I can't open the door. Okay, well, let's open the door. Let's understand, comprehend the matrix, and we can go out and play. We need to leave it. We need to leave it behind. So the other thing in terms of protecting and defending, we wouldn't protect and defend something that we thought had no value, right? So we have to acknowledge and be able to distinguish that which has real value and that which only has a fake, perceived, artificial value. I'm going somewhere with this, trust me. Because once we identify what is of value, then we build our lives around and give our energy to protecting that which has real value. So, for example, if we were taught early on in life that sugar eats away at our teeth and wreaks havoc on our whole system and eats away at the threads of life in our body, then we probably wouldn't get that excited about Halloween candy and have sugar cereals and all this stuff. We're not taught about the value of those all those connective threads in the body, and the eating away of them, and what that will do to us. We're not taught that we're born with the gold. We're taught that, okay, we watch the TV commercial and it's whatever, Trix or Lucky Charms or whatever it was when you were a kid. For me, it was probably, a lot of Frosted Flakes. They're great, right? I mean, this is what's plugged into us. We can't forget all these things. We do forget them, but we have to remember them. And so we have this moment where, like, oh my gosh, from the kid's perspective, I want to have that box on my table, that box that's in the TV. I want it on my table, and it has a toy inside. So my mom wouldn't buy me that cereal. She'd get me probably Raisin Bran, and maybe sometimes it would be Rice Krispies, and there might be a toy inside the Rice Krispies. But ultimately, I was valuing the toy in the box, the Cracker Jack toy in the box thing. So the value was misplaced. This is what I'm getting at. If we don't know what's of value, we're not going to protect what's of value. If we do know what's of value, we will protect what's of value. So if you know that these fake perfumes and dyes and sulfates and all these crazy things, I can't even spell them half the time or read them half the time. They're just I just put them in a heap now. If it says perfumes and whatever, it doesn't even matter, if it's what it's supposed to not have. If it looks like, if there's anything in there that doesn't look like it's going, if there's anything in there that looks like it might break down the integrity of my cells and tissues, it's not going anywhere near me. So, from that perspective, you walk into a department store. Like, I remember I would when I was working in Midtown Manhattan for many years, I was on right there at Rockefeller Center. And this is like before I got into the cleansing work. From like 21 to 25, I was doing PR, and I had a really great opportunity that helped me a lot, but it wasn't where I needed to land up. Ultimately, it was great. We have these experiences that aren't necessarily, they all feed us, they all give us what we need. But in that mindset, in that level of consciousness, I'd walk into Saks Fifth Avenue, and it was all like an amusement park. I have my lunch break, and I'd stroll in there, and there's just all the cosmetic counters, and and everyone, all the sales ladies couldn't wait to get you to put on their this new hot off the shelves new cosmetic item, a makeup, a perfume. Everyone's spraying everybody, and I know you've all been there, and from that mindset, it's like, wow, well, those things are of value. Wait, they want to give me the free gift set too, or here, just try this, and this comes with it. And, and I didn't know that these things would wreak havoc on my skin, on my hormones, on, my life force, or even affect how I would sleep, or, I was so young then, but nevertheless, it would have all these effects on your menstruation and everything. And it's all this toxicity is when it's put on the skin, and it's sprayed in the air, and it goes through your lungs, and it's going into your bloodstream, it's affecting your ovaries, it's all connected. And you do that on top of the mainstream eating and everything to boot. I saw that as having value, and so it's not until you take your perception of what's of value and set that right, and then you start operating in defense and protection of that you really start to protect what's of value. And that value has power. That value is power. So that all that connectivity, all that integrity that the body is ingeniously put together to have before it's broken down by the artificiality, that is your power. Those are the cords of integrity that enable the life force to flow through so strongly. And when those are interrupted because of this artificiality, that breaks down. So what we wind up doing is we wind up selling our integrity, our value, our gold, our power for this perceived thing of value, this artificial thing of value. I think the Canadian geese agree. So that's value. We have to think about, we're protecting and defending something of value. But in order to do that, we have to be strong. So it's like we need to have the strength in order to do that which will enable the strength to grow. So we have to start somewhere. That's, so wherever you are right now, wherever you're beginning from or wherever you're continuing from, that's what you're going to operate from. Figure out, so here's you can say to yourself, like, here's my level of strength right now, you know, and I want to be optimal in terms of my ability to discern, distinguish what is a value and be able to protect it. So first we have the perception, enables us to distinguish what's a value, and then we have the physical, mental, emotional strength, energetic strength to do that thing, to stand up for that thing that's a value, to, you know, whether it's to push yourself to do the workout because you know it's so important to strengthen you, not because, and also it has to come from the right place. Okay, so this is where we get into the whole, let's go back to the objectification of women, of the female body that we talked about yesterday. If we are training with like 90% of the reason is to be skinny or to lose weight or to, like, those things are not ends into themselves. If you want to lose weight because it will enable the integrity of your tissues to be stronger, great. If you want to lose weight just because you want, you need to, that's a part of, it's not bad. Like, it's going in the right direction, but why? You know, is it because you feel like you're of less value if you're heavier? Then that's a misvaluing of yourself. And that's where, if we can shift where where the drive is coming from, the motivation, get it into the right place, and you start thinking in terms of, you know, I want to bring integrity to my tissues. I want to feel that life force, and I know that that restoration of the body will enable me to carry more life force, which is going to affect me on all levels and actually make my life experience here so much richer and fulfill my reason for coming here. Well, I can assure you that's going to have a way longer lifespan than, you know, I just want to lose some weight. Because where's that coming from? That's that little the voice in your head that says you're not good enough yet, and you know, and you know, you're not gonna get, you know, asked out by so and so yet, or, you know, you should by now, you should be fitting in those jeans. And but see, that's all matrix consciousness. That's all those but catch those voices when they happen. They're so valuable. They're valuable because they enable you to write the true sense of value. See? In fact, one of the questions that was asked yesterday, I'll paraphrase, it had to do with how do you help someone who's been a victim of sexual abuse, and you know, and it was a big topic to cover in the call. So I kind of just I said that we maybe get to it a little bit later. But in thinking about it, I said a few things. I said that you know, you need to validate and acknowledge the experience as much as possible, and really let the person be heard and know that they've been understood, and have that all validated. But I would like to add on the topic of value, what happens when something like that occurs is that one tends to devalue themselves. So help them remember their value. Help them remember their intrinsic worth, their intrinsic value, because they may not be consciously aware of the fact that they lost a lot of their sense of value of worth. Unless they're really self-realized, they probably won't immediately come to that conclusion. So I would bring it up. And I would, because I think what would wind up happening is when people don't realize what happens, it goes into their shadow. So if they're walking around with this low sense of or lesser sense of value because of this event, but it's not integrated into their conscious awareness, then they're going to do things and make choices and feel certain ways about themselves that's going to impact their whole life, simply because they haven't come to terms with clarity, haven't come to clarity on the fact that actually happened. And I will say across the board that we all fall into the category of devaluing ourselves. Because even, you know, I'll just speak for myself, for example, like I realize that I'm a carrier, a vessel of life force, of the divine energy. Like I know there's no greater value than divine energy. And if that's in me, you know, and it's wonderful because it enables you to not have to put all the pressure on yourself, because it's not about me. It's about this, you know, I'm just the carrier of this energy. I know that even with that knowledge, I still undervalue myself because we haven't had the example of what it looks like to fully value ourselves. And I do believe that will come in time. I do believe that as we join together in our understanding of what it means to truly value our human life and the life force that flows through us, we will be able to show each other, and we will embody that, and it will be it will go viral in the best possible way. It will literally be like the 100th monkey. Like, we'll all start lighting up and recognizing our true value. And the beauty of that also is that that won't have anything to do with our ego. It will be a complete recognition of the fact that we no longer need to try to prove ourselves or to to establish a kind of false artificial value, because the intrinsic value that we come to realize that we truly are will just be, it will take up all the space. Our consciousness will rise up to that place where any kind of lesser valuing of ourselves, it doesn't even register. It's not even there. It's not in the room. So yeah. So when we value ourselves that way, and we realize how important it is to restore the integrity of our cells, our tissues, our psychic cleanliness, there's a word I'm looking for, our hygiene, our emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic, physical, sexual hygiene. That word is, I just think it's a really cool word, hygiene. I always think of, like, if somebody has a name Jean, you're saying like hygiene all the time. That must get kind of annoying for them, but no. Anyway, but it's a really cool word because it's kind of an old-fashioned word, kind of an old-fashioned name too, Jean. Anyway, if we realize that we cannot restore that integrity without hygiene, then let me put it differently. When we appreciate the fact that we restore that integrity through hygiene, we get serious about hygiene, and we appreciate and we value how important hygiene is. And remember the biblical saying that cleanliness is next to godliness. So why is that applicable to this? Well, it's so obvious, because if to be clean is to be a carrier of the life force, and to prevent the life force, or to break down the life force, is to create conditions which create rot, which are corrosive, which are corrupting. Flying things around. Excuse me, I'm gonna pick up my pen. Then we, then we get serious about making sure that our spaces, our intestines, our thoughts, our engagements are all super hygienic. So hygiene isn't just for the dental hygienist. Hygiene is for everything. And then you start to bring a really functional sense of order to your life, and you can apply all of the cleansing techniques, the searching out your shadow, all of these things are so valuable. You do them for the right reasons, and you understand why you're doing them. Because we have to protect this incredible opportunity that we have to embody the life force, and then we have to strengthen it. We have to do that every day, even when it's hard. That's why we could really do with some support sources, and that's what I aim to do, is just be your support source to help strengthen you until you don't need me anymore. And my goal is for you not to need me. I want to give you everything I've got to give you, so you don't need me, and you can step into this state and you can continue to build your own soul force, your own life force quotient, and be untouchable by the lower forces, because they're always lurking, and they can be as harmless to you as an ant, because you completely have their number, and you can see them from a mile away, and you protect yourself so well. Or they can be like a monster, and they can suck your energy dry, and they can leave you in a pile, in a heap, because you don't know how to identify them. So I want to get you really, really clear on how to identify them. But this is why we have to differentiate between what the world tells us is a value, and you can test me on this. Go ahead and think about everything that the world tells you is a value, and ask yourself, does this weaken me or does this strengthen me? Go ahead, be my guest. And then you can look at nature, and you can look at what impacts and offends nature, and what breaks it down, and you'll see that it's only the artificiality and the desire to control to domesticate, to harness, to exploit through usury, to take what what man wants, what matrix mind man wants from nature, that breaks it down. It's only when we get involved with our desire to control, which comes from a sense of inadequacy, not having enough, fear basically of not having enough, fear of lack, basically. But nature is the antithesis of lack. Nature is abundance. Nature, just give it half a chance, and it will. I'm growing some vegetables. I cannot keep up with the quantity of greens. There's just so much. The earth just wants to give so much. And just as an aside, I now make a point of harvesting my greens for my juice in the evening, within 15 minutes of making the juice, because by doing that, and sometimes even more quickly, like literally I'll just cut them and juice within 5 minutes. And literally the earth is just conducting this force, this life force, right through the plants. And it's all alive. We go into grocery stores, we buy greens. Okay, they're green, and that's great, and they have an alkalinity quotient and everything. But this is life. It's alive. It's bursting through this plant, and then we're consuming it. So to think that you could even quantify that kind of nutritional abundance in a laboratory, I don't believe you can. I believe it's something totally on a different quantum level. So keep this in mind. The closer we get to nature, the more we connect, the more we restore these connections. And this is the sacred mother. This is the sacred mother energy wanting to give to us when she's not controlled, when she's not obstructed. And I notice I have some vegetables that are growing in these boxes, like these crates, and then I have the ones that are growing wildly. And the ones that are growing wildly are doing so much better. And it's really fun to watch that, because the less we control things, the more we let nature do her thing, the better. And same with us, the more we can be free to express our truth and not regurgitate the matrix programming. The more we free ourselves of these programs, the more we're going to have an abundance, and we're not going to be afraid of lack. We're not going to live in fear of not having enough, because first of all, there's more than enough. Secondly, when you're inspired, you have ideas and you put things together and you make sense of things, you make connections. And when you make connections, there's more life force flowing through, and you have better ideas, and those ideas will come to the aid in situations where there's need. But if we never get there, then we're always going to be enslaved. And we're always going to be told, okay, well, you need to go out and make a living and put food on the table, the food that's going to kill you, by the way, and give you cancer and send you off to have to squish your breast and get mammograms, and then, so that you can live and die saying, I did as I was told. I did what the Matrix told me to do. So it's well, okay. Let me not get too enthusiastic on that point. All right. Any questions, guys? I wanted, as we cover things about what things that go into the body, I often forget about these things because I don't go into these stores. I think I started to talk about that in the first conversation and didn't really get to the nitty gritty. Things like these spray deodorants, and we talked about perfumes, hairspray, soaps. In fact, I brought a little goodie bag. I have a few of the things I didn't get to show you yesterday. Soap. Let's just talk about soap for a second. You go into a drugstore, and when you buy soap, I mean, most of you know this, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but just get a natural bar of soap from the health shop. You don't want to make yourself dirty while you're cleaning yourself. And that's what most deodorants and anything that has chemicals in it, anything that's artificial, has perfumes and dyes and these bizarre things they put into things to make them have a long shelf life and smell a certain way. They are highly acidic. And the whole point of soap, by the way, here's my soap. This is my favorite soap. It's a lemongrass soap. It is so nice. There's lots of great brands in America, but this is one I love here. And I think it's by Victoria Gardens. Victoria Gardens, yeah, if anyone's here in South Africa. The whole point of soap is alkaline. So what you're doing with soap is you're trying to remove the acidity. So if you're using something acidic, you might remove what's on the surface that's, because of some alkaline components in the soap, but then you're putting a different acidity on top of it. So it's really pointless. Also remember, this is a kind of like makes one's head spin for the first time they hear this. We're not supposed to be, let me put it this way. The washing we do of our bodies every day is not so much because of what we're exposed to in a day, unless you're really going into a very dirty, acidic, yucky environment. You're washing because of what's coming through you. You're not smelling bad by what you're picking up. You're smelling bad because internally there's rot, there's putrefaction, there's fermentation. This is all noxious gases and matter, noxious matter that's oozing through your skin. So, it takes the idea of colon cleansing to a whole other level, because you realize that, that it's actually inside that's dirty. It's not the outside that's dirty. The outside just gets to like have to receive what's coming through all the pores and the organs as they're excreting. And that may make you a little bit more interested in colon cleansing, because if you kind of preempt your filth if you can get it from within, and you can really preempt it if you get it before it settles in, because you don't even consume it, all the better. All right, so that's on the soap concept. Then, oh yes, so makeup. Now we all know that makeup is hugely toxic, and this is, going back to that idea of going into the Saks Fifth Avenue department store or Neiman Marcus or Bloomingdale's or Macy's, and it's just think about the fact that you will no longer have to overvalue those things, because actually they could offer you the whole store, and you know what? You don't want it. How's that? All right. Bloomingdale's calls you and says, come in and take anything you want, or here's a $1 million gift card to buy anything from the cosmetic department. You kind of be like, well, thanks, but no thanks, because this here, is, because you want to get to your essence. One of the things that we destroy when we use all these products is we destroy our own scent, and that's our pheromones. And who's to say all this, all this mal matching, this, in terms of male and female connection, couldn't be solved simply by having our authentic, clean scent on us, and we would just know by the scent. I mean, we do know the power of pheromones, and it's not just a boy-girl thing. It's also with children, and there's the pheromones, the energy that comes out. When a baby is born, after the baby is placed on mother's chest without anything on, baby needs to be skin to skin and smell mommy immediately. In a perfect world, assuming we've got two parents in the room, baby should be immediately placed on daddy's chest, bare chest, so baby can experience daddy's smell immediately. And we don't want to have interference. If there's emergencies, that's a different story. But preferably without interference, baby goes straight to mommy's chest without anything in between. Nothing gets between baby and mommy, and nurses and all that jazz. And at least to the extent that the newborn baby, will find all the right parts to do that, and they do. It's an absolute miracle. It happened with all three of my kids. Each one of them found it immediately upon birth. It's incredible. So, and then my aren't that big, so it's not that easy to find. I'm teasing. And then they have to go to daddy. So this is all about the pheromones, the smells, and we ruin our smells. We ruin all of our pheromones by interfering with all this stuff. But then we have to cleanse the internal system as well, because if we want to get it right, if we want to be like Pocahontas, we won't have our true pheromones unless our intestine is clean and our cells and tissues are clean. So that is where makeup comes in. Hello, Lola. Hi, everyone, by the way. I'm getting excited and I'm not looking at this list. Lola, you ask, monthly cycles. At this point in your restoration, do you experience the phases of your monthly cycle as having different energetic qualities in the same way that the seasons and tides have distinct and different expressions, all being functional? Not speaking to symptoms, as I know you've freed yourself from those, but just the ways you've observed your in and out breaths creatively and otherwise in a month's time. Well, it's a great question. It's a very Lola question. Thank you, Lola. I missed you training this week, by the way. We got to do that again soon. Lola trained with me with Sensei Bradley last week a couple times. So, I think the best thing about the cycles when a cleansed woman is that it's all so uneventful. Like, it's just, the reproductive system is just at peace. It's an absolute peace. And then the cycle comes and then it goes back to peace. So I would say that I like to observe the moon cycle, and I often try to think, well, kind of what's going on in me, or am I feeling something? Am I close, or what's happening? But no, it's just like a very clean, simple regularity and very uneventful. And that's when I know I'm actually on point. So it's a good thing. If I get a little breakout or something happens, I used to get a little, around the sort of the reproductive zone, get a little pimple or something. And that's, it's okay because that happens. And there are fluctuations, and we're moving in a toxic world. We're getting clean in a toxic world. So it's not that it has to be perfect, but you'll know when things are really good when it's all really, really seamless and uneventful. However, don't allow the symptoms to tell you where you are in your cleansing process. So if you have, I'm not speaking to Lola anymore because I know Lola's really far along on this cleansing process and everything, but the degree to which it's not uneventful, the degree to which you have a lot of symptoms and a lot of discomfort and a lot of moodiness is the degree to which you need to cleanse. But the beauty of it is, within 6 months of doing the work, you're going to have a real litmus test. You'll be able to be very clear on where you are, and know that it's only going to get better from there. So, but that's a big part of the sacred feminine and caring for it. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because just as I was going to talk about makeup, I think we should actually jump into this first. Because I don't have that much to say about makeup. I want to share a couple things with you, but I'm not the makeup girl. So we never want to obstruct flow. Remember, flow is key, and we have to, if we're going to value life, we have to value the reproductive system above all, because that's like, we have to make sure that it's like, it needs to be like our lotus flower garden. It has to be, you have to see it as this very delicate system within frameworks that are stronger. And those stronger frameworks need to protect it, as they do physiologically. But what's interesting is our Creator placed the intestine and the reproductive system right up against each other. So here's the gig. If you have a toxic intestine, that toxicity is going to seep into your reproductive organs. And it's just so black and white in that sense. If it's not going to be kept clean, then your reproductive system is going to suffer, and that's why we see all of these reproductive issues in women. I mean, I mentioned yesterday that hysterectomy is the second most common surgical procedure in the world for women, just after cesarean section. So it's just also such a reflection of how the sacred feminine has been desecrated, as above, so below. So we never want to obstruct. If you can avoid using tampons, sorry for the guys listening, we have to speak about this. This is central to the conversation. Then don't. Occasional use of organic tampons is fine, but I mean the modern generation, kids these days, they the teens and I guess I don't know, I don't ask everybody, but it seems like most women who let's say the uninitiated to this kind of information, they use. I hope the camera's covering. I've got a really short skirt on. I hope the camera's covering up everything as I'm like speaking freely here. I know you guys would tell me if something was showing that shouldn't be showing, but anyway, I've got my legs crossed and a short skirt on. But anyway, on that note, it's a beautiful sunny day. It's too common. This wearing of tampons is way too common. So we don't want to have any chemicals in that area. We don't want to obstruct in that area. We don't want to block flow. Everything should be, the idea is if it's meant to move down, keep it moving down, keep it flowing, keep it coming. And the way we live in the month is going to show up in our cycles. So, to the degree that I might have too much red wine or, stay up too many nights because, sometimes I get super inspired and work too late. To the degree that I'll imbalance myself is the degree to which I will start to feel symptoms possibly that month. I might get away with it, I might not. Kind of depends on how far out of balance I go. I don't really imbalance myself too much these days, but that's really important. Wow, we've got like a whole zoo of sounds. So, and the only thing I would say about, if there's any more questions about menstrual cycles and things, okay, the latest research even says no hats after birth because there's beautiful connective scents coming from baby. Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, there is nothing more otherworldly and just succulently beautiful than the fragrance that comes out of an infant's head. I would just just my nose and the little Bubba's fontanelle would just be like, the essence. It's the most beautiful fragrance in the world. So yes, it's interesting that they don't put. I mean, look, little beanies are needed to keep the baby's head warm, of course, and lots of places, different temperatures. But and also, I am a big fan of the in-arms period, where you keep baby away from others and other environments for a long time. So if home birthing parents, they're usually really aware of this. But when you give birth in a hospital environment, all this exposure, it's too much. The babies are so receptive. When we talk about the feminine energy, it's the same idea with babies and children under 7. It's just so receptive. They're taking everything in. And that's great if it's just loving, warm, quiet, harmonious energy in a loving household. But if it's out in the world, in a big hospital or these environments really impact the baby early on, and they can affect everything going forward. Any confusion? Because I know I went very quickly through the essential oils and the teeth and everything yesterday. The teeth, I know, I'm just going to say it again. It's so important. Remember, anything that comes into us, it's intimate space. It's all conducted. The teeth are connected to the brain. The teeth are connected to the gut. It's all one organism. So, if you want to prevent Alzheimer's and dementia, you want to keep your mouth clean. You want to keep your gut clean. It's all moving. And to think otherwise, and to think that anything is isolated in the body is not true. Everything's porous, everything's flowing, everything's moving, because the body is female, and the female energy moves. The tissues are alkaline. This is why acidity sticks in the tissue. So from a subatomics perspective, the atoms of healthy cells and tissues have more electrons on the outer belt than there are protons in the nucleus. Now, a lot of you will know this if you've heard me talk about this before. And what happens is when you consume things that are highly acidic, what that actually means on a subatomic level is that there are more protons in the nucleus than there are electrons on the outer belt. So those atoms will become, they'll be thieves. They're electron stealers, because they need electrons to balance themselves out. So they go and they basically suffocate and steal from healthy atoms that have an excess of electrons, and they basically snuff out the life force in the body. Imagine that you have these alkaline atoms with all these extra electrons. They're like little candles, and the candles are are flying around and there's lots and lots of light. And then you have these acidic electrons that have no light of their own. They need to take the light, but what do is they take the light, they just snuff it out. There's little, candle snuffers, and they're just going through and they're snuffing it out. So that's what happens. But it's also, it has a magnetic component because the alkalinity is negatively ionically charged. Sorry, let me say that a bit slower. The alkaline cells, the alkaline atoms, get ahead of myself. The alkaline atoms are negatively ionically charged, and the acidic atoms are positively ionically charged. In this case, negative is a good thing, positively ionically charged is not a good thing. And so our cells and tissues are negatively ionically charged, and that is yin. That is the divine feminine, the sacred feminine energy. So the yang energy, which, yang is not dysfunctional at large. It's just in this case, it's opposing the natural flow of the body. So the acidity, it comes in, the acidic, positively ionically charged atoms, they will magnetize to the negatively ionically charged atoms, and so they're sticking together now. They've come together. And now, how are we going to get these acidic atoms coming from this acidic substance out of this alkaline, negatively ionically charged tissue that it's now embedded itself in? That's the magic question, and I have the magic answer. The answer is that you need to bring the negatively ionically charged and negatively ionically charged substance into the body to attract this acidity out of this tissue that it's attached itself to. And you need two things. You need to have the negatively ionically charged substance, so say your green juice, and you need to have a hydrating component, so your green juice. So the reason the green juice works so well is because it's both high water content, so it's going to help to reconstitute this stuck like glue stuck on you matter that's in the tissue. It's going to enable it to when it's reconstituted, it's going to loosen, and then the alkaline component is going to be able to magnetize it up and out of the tissue. So now you have it up and out, and then you have to get it out of the body, and that's when the whole when the system celebrates and all this space and freedom opens up and you feel amazing. Sorry guys, I think the shadow's moving around me. I hope I can't really see very well, but I think it's all there. But so that's the beauty of how it all happens, and that's also how it happens with soap. So when you can think of your green juice as the soap in the body. The soap, the green juice is that alkaline component that's going to go into the body and magnetize the acidity from the cells so that it can be carried out. It's really a beautiful process. Okay. Hi, Katie. Good morning to you. All right. We've covered a lot. Oh, this is very big though. I can't let you guys go until I've covered this last very important part. Assuming it's the last thing, unless you guys have questions. But I think it's been a good, nice time frame, nice and I don't know how concise it has been, but I don't even know what time it is. But I think I'm okay today. All right. So we have to think about where pressure, anxiety, stress are ruining our ability to be in flow and to be that sacred feminine. All of those things desecrate the temple. They desecrate our divine energy, our divine essence. So we have no surprise that the matrix construct drives us under so much pressure, under so much stress, under so much fear, anxiety, and to the point where we're living on adrenaline because we don't get enough rest. And this is true obviously for men and women. But as long as we're living under that kind of stress and pressure, we're never going to have the kind of peace that we need to restore and to be clear, and then to build our strength in order to protect and defend that which is of true value. So, just take a look at how the world brings all this stress, tension, anxiety into our lives in so many forms. I mean, it's expectations, it's debt, it's, managing families. I mean, I sometimes wonder how it is that once someone has a child, much less 2 or 3, there's not, I mean, unless you have a lot of help somehow, which most people don't, you're kind of trapped, because you're going to spend your whole life, you're the next, I don't know, at least 10 years and 18 years and so on, focused on doing the things you're supposed to do for this child who needs all of your attention. And there's no time to figure out what the matrix is. I mean, there's no time to figure out how to extricate yourself. You're exhausted. You're doing the heaps of laundry. You're making all these meals that you're theoretically supposed to be making, because that's what you're told you need to be doing. You're enrolling in all these schools to make sure that and you're at doctor's offices and you're getting checkups, and you're if you're lucky, you have time to contemplate things like vaccinations, and you can make meaningful changes in lifestyle. But to actually have the space and peace and restfulness and clarity of mind to have access to the kind of energy that will enable you to see what's really going on around you, to read the books you need to read, and understand what how it all came to pass. It's a massive story, and the way the spells cast on us through words, spelling. It's all day long, embedded in the words we use. It's what's called geometria. There's numerical value in each one of the letters, and it's all, the English language is filled with it's a language of spelling. It's spell casting, and to even get to the bottom of how all that works takes months. And assuming you're in the right direction, going in the right direction, and finding the right people, like Jordan Maxwell, and others who, a few of the names aren't coming to mind right now, but really, really amazing people that lecture on this. Anyway, there's so much to know, but my point is just that when we're so caught up with the rigorous demands of what the world is telling us to do, we're becoming crippled by that. We have to dispel that. We have to remember that our intrinsic value is worth more than that. We can't let fear and the things that would cause anxiety. We have to get rid of drama. We have to not succumb to the we talk about emotional hygiene. Emotional hygiene is looking at situations around you and realizing how they are coming from dysfunctional places, an inverted life concept, the matrix, and they're being aimed at you, or they're triggering something in you, or they're bringing something up in you that isn't coming from authentic life, but coming from manipulated life. And once you can start to identify that, it won't have the same hold on you anymore. And when you stop buying into all the lies about what women should be buying into, like I mentioned the department store cosmetic department, you take your power back so much, because you're not going to spend your life trying to earn money to buy these things. There's a wonderful turning of the tide in your life that can happen. It's not to say that the monetary economy has to change. It has to be eradicated. It's completely evil. Anyone who says that money is just a form of energy, I don't agree with that. I believe that it's complete control. It's a complete control system that's meant to keep us in fear and in debt, and the banking system goes with it. It's not what we're meant to be talking about today, but it's important, because if we don't understand how we've been manipulated to believe in these things and to spend our lives going out to earn money in order to buy these things that only wind up harming us, if we don't see that pattern, then we can't ever get out of that pattern. So, it's that. So I think financial empowerment begins with identifying what's actually of value, and you wind up walking away from a lot of things, and you wind up walking toward a lot of new things that over the long term will give you empowerment on every level, including financial empowerment. but it's all has to be set up in a whole new structure. So let's see here. So thank you, Katie. You're very sweet. Oh, is this imperfect? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, in that case, maybe we should keep going. Okay. All right. So, oh yes, well, that's actually a perfect segue. I do want to talk about our natural inclination as women to love beauty and to love adornment, to be, it's not, this is the thing, there's that great saying, when my oppressor gives me two options, I always take the third. That was Mir Berliner, I believe, who said that when just before he shot a Nazi officer in Treblinka. Terrible story, but great quote. Anyway, when my oppressor gives me two options, I always take the third. We're given, it's like that Matrix mindset. It's, well, there's beauty and fabulousness, or there's, Birkenstocks and, letting yourself go. I know Birkenstocks made a comeback and whatever, but maybe that's a bad analogy. But anyway, you get my meaning. That sort of sense of, I'm not gonna care about what I wear. I'm never gonna wear jewelry, or never gonna wear makeup. And that's okay. That's truly how you feel. But when we get in touch, when we resuscitate the sacred feminine, there is going to be a natural instinct, a natural expression of beauty, because nature is, if nothing else, beauty, made of beauty. The fabric of nature is so beautiful. So it's in our nature as the yin energy, and the yin energy that resides in men, to gravitate toward creating beauty. So and I mentioned yesterday the idea of, wouldn't it be lovely if we would be so fixated on adorning our sisters as opposed to, just focused on me. And I don't know if I expressed that very well, but that was really what I was trying to get at. So we will want things to be beautiful, and it will be effortless, it will be easy, and we'll be able to distinguish very easily between that which is beautiful because it celebrates us and it helps us be ourselves, and it supports our life force, and it supports everything that's life generating and health generating in our in our being, in our space, in our family space, in our friends' spaces, versus it's that matrix image perfection that you squeeze yourself into the smallest jeans you can, and you get those Spanx in the right place so everything's held in, and you also, when your body's strong and fluid and flowing, you won't be so reliant on those things. Little by little things will tighten up in you naturally, but that weakness of the tissue in the female body and in the male body, it comes from it comes from hormones being off. It comes from a huge amount of fungus in the body. It comes from just pathogens overtaking you, making you weak. It's the matrix outside has come inside. So when we're vulnerable when we're not strong. Then we allow that to come in. Okay, I don't want to go too, but we're naturally inclined toward beauty and adornment, and don't feel that if you're coming out of the matrix that you're not going to have the opportunity to celebrate beauty anymore in yourself, in your home, in your spaces, with your friends, in whatever way that you're so inclined to. So, there's still a lot of room. I remember I had this wonderful a young woman who looked after Tundi when she was a little girl, and she was Russian, and she was so somehow untouched by the world. She was so natural and just so beautiful. And she would take Tundi to the park, and she would come back with these flower fairies, and she would braid Tundi's hair in this way and have flowers on her, and it was just so natural for her to do that. She wasn't, thinking about anything else, but it's just like you see girls playing with their dolls, and in the best possible context, they're little girls are inclined to want to make things beautiful. And that's not to say that little boys aren't, because they assuming all health to the gender, and in every way, there's this is the yin expression. It comes through the sacred The sacred feminine expresses in the feminine, in the female body, and expresses in the male body. It tends to do so in slightly different ways, depending, but not always. You have, brilliant designers who are men, and brilliant, chefs who are obviously. So, don't want to be misunderstood there. But there is a natural inclination. We're talking about the sacred feminine. We're talking mostly about women. But don't be afraid that you're not going to be able to express with beauty through beauty, and make yourself even more beautiful. You will be naturally even more beautiful. Take off this stuff that's suppressing your skin, that's suffocating your cells and just covering up the matrix that tells us everything must be artificial. It's better if it's artificial, is the message that comes to us. Whether or not that's verbalized that way, the point is that that's what the program is. And so, it's better if it's expensive. It's better if it's artificial. It's, you need this because you're not going to be loved. You're not going to be loved. You're not going to be lovable. You're not going to be attractive if you don't do this. Well, take all the artificiality out of the picture and see what happens. See how you glow. See how, even things like eye drops. I'm always surprised when I see people use eye drops. I think like you shouldn't need eye drops. If you're using eye drops and your eyes aren't clear, it's because you're not clear inside. So, and that's okay, because there's so much support. Myself and so many others are here to help anybody who is lacking in confidence about how to do this, to go from point A to point Z and have all the success. I've already had it. I have no other needs in my life. I've had my children. I've had my career. I've had everything anybody could want, in life. I've had a lot of hardship and a lot of success. And now it's just I'm 45. I've got the rest of my life ahead of me to just give. So, this is what I'm here for. And you have support if you need it. Just know that it's if you haven't jumped in yet, it's easier than you think. And the most important thing is that you understand that you need to awaken the waste inside, and you need to get it out of the body. And when you do that, you create the conditions for life to be restored, for regeneration to take place. And then it's just letting nature do her beautiful work, the sacred feminine doing her beautiful work. I hope that was helpful. And I hope you all have the most amazing day wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me and making my day so much more special. Really meant a lot to me. And we'll do this again sometime. Okay, so much love. Bye for now.